Will you be still? Will you be still? Quiet, gentle, undisturbed, present and receptive, like a silent sea. And in that silence, will you stop the ancient game of shame, of nagging on yourself and others, of mindless doing of the unessential? And in that stopping, will you plumb, find alignment with existence in the deep? Will you reverberate with Gaia turning on her axis, with moons circling their planets, stars spiraling in their galaxies? Will you trust the whispered voice that lets you know how profoundly you belong? Will you be still? Will you be still? And in that stillness, allay the agitation of the world. Perhaps for one more, if you would like one more. And kind of slip out of poetic mode for a moment, give myself that freedom. Just to tell you a little bit about this poem, Message from the Mermaids. And this poem came in the summertime. I was visited by a friend from New York, documentary maker, woman, and she has two passions. One is saving the sea, and the other is mermaids. And she's actually making a documentary about mermaids. And one of the things she said that I found really interesting was, she said that every culture has a mermaid myth, and that there are certain things in common around the mermaid myth. Two of them are that the thing that destroys the mermaid is if she doesn't get enough time by herself in the deep. Doesn't get enough time by herself in the deep. And the other thing that destroys the mermaid is that she falls in love with a prince who lives on land. And in order to be with him, she has to sacrifice her mermaidness. And I think that message is absolutely crucial. If you think of mermaid as metaphor for the inner feminine, for the feeling, for the receptive, for the listening, for the ability to mirror and reflect others, the part of us that does a tremendous amount of invisible work. It's not the one at the production line making things manifest. It's the one that is emotionally astute and can receive and connect with ourselves, with the universe, with one another, that can help other people know who they are and help us know who we are. That aspect of ourselves, that feminine aspect, is having a hell of a time, in my view, in our current culture. You can see, if you can agree, the mermaids are really suffering. Because not only are we polluting the sea, we're polluting the emotional atmosphere in which that we inhabit. Sea is often seen as a metaphor for the feeling realm, for the emotional realm. And we don't allow ourselves, traditionally, the time. It's interesting, what does the feminine in? It's not just what does women in, it's what does this aspect in men and women in. If you don't have enough time to yourself. Sweden is good relative to many countries, has long holidays. Long holidays. You try living in America. 2 weeks, if you're lucky. 2 weeks if you're lucky. So, Sweden in that sense is good, and Swedes' ability to be in nature is fantastic, because it gives some of that silence and communion, can give. Unless you fill up your time all the time. The mermaid needs time in the deep on her own. The deep feminine needs time to sort out her feelings. And we need to give each other time. We need to do that as a culture as well. Burnout is often a lot to do with not having enough time and not having enough meaningful connection. Because the other side of the feminine is it's relational. It needs to connect. And the thing that does the mermaid in all the myths, falls in love with the prince, gives up her mermaidness. And we live in a culture that on the one hand is doing a lot of great stuff for women. It's not perfect, better. But it's also often asked women to become men. It's asked us to become the masculine, the doing, the productive, the on the time, on the schedule. It hasn't said, you know what, the quality of listening, reflecting, feeling, mirroring, creating a safe emotional space, the ability to wait, all of these things, certain aspects of the mermaid, of the feminine, is not what the culture generally says is good. And if you're going to be a successful providing woman, those are not usually the aspects that are coming to the fore. So I think the message this visitor had to say, her interest in the mermaid and the seas, I think are really, really important. And so I thank you for your indulgence, letting me talk a little bit about some of all of this, because I couldn't put all that in the poem. It would be a book. But I do have something, this message from the mermaids. And it was written in summertime. It's a very different world. Swedish archipelago, on the dock, still sea, a lot of still water. Still sea, sun shining on the sea. Message from the mermaids. Down on the dock with the morning, the silver sea reflective, still. Liquid gold spangles trail across the water like shining locks of some mermaid drifting with the deep. With a sudden ruffle of small waves, I thought I heard the mermaid singing. The sea is dying, its riches ravaged, its being plundered and polluted. Save the sea, if you will save yourselves. I felt myself reach out. How shall I save the sea? With a golden shimmer of the water, a soft whisper of the waves, she replied. It's the waves. She replied, tend your inner sea. Tend your inner sea. Take time to mend your hearts and cherish what you love. Her words struck a chord as I sat dreaming on the dock. Tend your inner sea. Mend your heart and cherish what you love. The golden spangles trailed across the deep have gone now. Not so the spangles of the heart. They're still here, quietly, softly shining, waiting to show us the way, if we choose to find and follow.